14bucks.com here, and we're gonna be checking out this video where this like old retirement couple ended up actually basically drowning in their debt, right? So let's get right into this.
We're not extravagant people. It was just these unforeseen things that we used the credit card for. The credit card offers kept coming in the mail. It's so easy to have a credit card and put it on credit and not even think about it because you're not using any money at all. But you are. Before you know it, it just hit me like a bomb. We were hitting at just over $85,000 on 5 credit cards.
$85,000 on five different credit cards. That's crazy. And because it's like spending money on credit cards, that means this most likely is probably like impulse spending. And let's actually rewind it just like a little bit, right? Because this guy says something very interesting, right?
Any money at all. But you are.
Right, hold on. A little bit before that.
Not even think about it because you're not using
Wait, right here.
it's so easy to have a credit card and put it on credit and not even think about it because you're not using any money at all. But you are.
Now, if you can hear this, right? This is actually not an uncommon thought process that people have when they use credit cards. You could actually probably ask 10 people, and probably one of them will actually have this same viewpoint. Like, what do you mean? I'm spending money on my credit card. It's free money, right? You think I'm crazy if you end up stumbling upon this, but no, people actually believe that, right? And let me tell you like a personal story, right? So apparently, one of my grandparents, specifically my grandmother, she actually believed this. And it got so bad that my grandfather actually had to confiscate her credit card because she kept spending money on the credit card at Walmart. And the reality of their financial situation at the time was that they were retirees. They were living purely on like a pension and social security. Like they were not living on a lot of money per month. But she truly believed that like the $1,000 or $2,000 credit limit was quite literally free money. She truly believed that. And it like the only way to get her out of that situation was to literally take the credit card away from her. So, some people might stumble upon this episode and be like, hey, what are you talking about? That is absolutely crazy thing. The reality is, there are people that think like this, and it's very dangerous.
Before you know it, it just hit me like a bomb. We were hitting at just over $85,000 on 5 credit cards. He was 61. What am I going to do? We were both 61. What are we going to do?
To be $85,000 in credit card debt at 61, you're basically drowning in debt at that point, right? Because they're probably not making much money. By the way, this is like made by like CNBC, like this episode, and honestly, it's done pretty well. And this is like an old video, like this is like 6 years ago or something.
We were renting a home in Orange County and we were 50.
Renting a home in Orange County. That is probably so expensive.
We couldn't afford really a much higher mortgage payment. But buying this house was literally something like a dream come true. I was going to be a homeowner. The $85,000 debt, a lot of it was for the house. It needed new flooring, it needed new bathrooms. This combination of stuff and vacations. Let's just spend, get what we need. What's the big deal? I had this.
What's the big deal? Oh man, this is so sad to see. honestly, because like people need to be very careful with their spending habits. And if they just like insert or swipe or whatever or like tap and like don't think anything of it, that's where you get into trouble because you're not even aware of what you're actually spending, right? And this is where people could get into the trouble, like even nowadays, where you could be like, getting your like daily breakfast or brunch at like Starbucks, getting like a bagel and like a big cup of coffee, right? And you're not thinking of anything, you're not paying attention to how much you're spending, but in reality, by the end of the month, you spent over $300 purely from Starbucks, right? And it's not even that filling of a thing. So, like, people think that things don't add up, but they do. These small purchases do add up, especially if you're not making a lot of money. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you need to be really aware of what you're spending your money on.
A great job. I enjoyed going to work. I loved doing what I needed to do. I could buy whatever item I needed. Me losing my job didn't even cross my mind. So I lost my job. The plan had been.
Like, that line of thinking, like, this is the problem that a lot of people have. A lot of people live life under the assumption that their job is 100% secure. That them working a job means that they have security and safety. And that is not the reality of the situation because since you are relying on your paycheck from someone else, your boss at any given time could just fire you, could just let you go, right? Or the business could just fail. So you're not really as safe as you think you are, and he ended up learning that firsthand, sadly.
We were going to work till 66, retire together. Well, this little hiccup got in our way and we couldn't make the minimum payments. That was scary. That's.
That is, yeah, that's not good, right? To be in a situation where you can't even make minimum payments on your debt, you're in a very dire situation because that's where you get to the point where things start to compound in an extremely bad way.
61 when I was laid off and I was kind of forced into retirement. Susan did some research and she reached out to the credit card counseling. That's when I found the company that we went with. This credit consolidation company, they helped us reduce the interest rates. They gave us a program. We went to their classes, we did our homework, and it all made sense. Stick to the plan. If I don't have money for this, I'm not going to buy it. Our house sold for $320,000. We owed $350,000. The bank took the short sale and lost $30,000. We had two cars, so I got me a bicycle. I needed to learn cutting coupons, how to spot a sale. And actually, our life got simpler because we couldn't pull out the credit card and do what we wanted. We had to talk about it. We had to make a choice. It really kept us focused to be able to be debt free and be able to retire at 66. It is the most amazing thing to be in the situation where we are now.
Oh, that is so good. Okay, I was so scared when I like clicked on this video that they would truly be basically in retirement with a massive amount of debt with no way to pay it off. So I'm really happy that they did take the necessary steps to get themselves out of it. And the thing is, getting out of debt is actually a very simple process, but it's hard for people to actually do. And the reality is just you need to basically look at yourself in the mirror and realize like, hey, the problem is because of the choices that I am continuously making on a day-to-day basis, right? That's what it really comes down to. With the same thing with, like losing weight, right? Like if you're overweight, it is the exact same way of like thinking, right? The reason why I'm getting fatter is because I'm continuously making choices of putting more food in my mouth, right? And not taking any necessary steps to, not do that as often. And the thing is, you don't need to make like drastic steps, right? Like you could get into like a position in your life where you start making small changes to your life and you could completely prevent this scenario from ever happening to where you're $85,000 in debt.
Richard had a trust account. As a state employee, I had started my own retirement fund. And today, Richard's on Social Security and my Social Security and retirement funds. We have enough monthly income that will take care of our monthly needs. We don't even remember that we have one credit card. Even now, if we wanted to do something, if we have the money for it, and I say hard cash, we'll go buy that one item. I'm good with that.
Okay, I think that's pretty awesome because like a lot of people don't even understand this as well, but when you spend money in cold hard cash form, you feel a lot of pain and also kind of shame as well on yourself. So for example, and this also kind of works as well in terms of, losing weight. If you end up just using a credit card to buy like that pizza and you're looking at that, you don't really care about it. But if you actually got to pull out the cash from your wallet, literally hand it to someone or put it into the thing, collect the change, go through that whole process so you could end up getting that pizza, you're like, wow, what am I doing? Right? But especially if you end up having to like take out cash and like give it to someone, that one really for sure makes you feel like, oh man, I really do not want to spend this money. I really don't want to just lose this money that I spent hours trying to make, right? Because typically the majority of people work like a 9 to 5. So think of it like this. Let's say that you get paid, I don't know, like $10 an hour, right? And you physically give someone $10 for some useless item, right? Like you're in that process about to pay someone $10 cold hard cash for a useless item that you do not need and you don't need. It's going to feel really bad, right? Because you're like, wow, I wasted an hour of my life for this. That's one way to really think about it. So, by sticking to a 5-year financial plan, Susan and Richard Ramirez were able to pay off their debt. That is awesome. After downsizing their home and expenses, they were able to retire comfortably at the age of 66. That was actually really good. I really like that. And look, people need to understand too, like, if you downsize right now, like your lifestyle right now, and set things up to where you start automating your investing after you pay off your debt, by the time you hit retirement, you could potentially have multiple millions of dollars in your retirement account. So you don't just have to be like, you know, passing by or like, just living, like barely living kind of thing, like their kind of like situation. You could be living a really good life in retirement instead of just getting by, right? So that's something to really think about. And like a lot of people are like, oh, I need this now. I want this instant gratification, but they don't really understand the harmful effects of it by always wanting to be instantly gratified. If you want to learn how to get out of debt, go to 40inbox.com.